Lower the anchor. This way. Dig in. Finally. Calypso.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Ridgeback Creations. Today we're going to make Tia Dalma's necklace from Pirates of the Caribbean because we really wanted to show that we do other stuff besides just Harry Potter. So any future ideas for other DIYs outside the wizarding world, please leave those comments down below. And today, Fnug, our gecko, is my little pirate parrot, and he's probably going to leave on the back of my back in any second now. So let's get started. So, beginning the necklace, I decided to make a sketch in my book to kind of figure out the different components and to figure out the size ratio of the different things. And I soon realized that the first sketch was perhaps a little bit too big for my liking, because when I tend to wear necklaces, I kind of want them to be a little bit smaller, and if it's too big, I'm probably not going to wear it that often. So, it's not that screen accurate. It probably should have been a little bit bigger, but you can do whatever you want, right? So using that sketch, I made a couple more until I was kind of happy with the size that I was going for. Then I used that as a template for the base layer of clay so that I got the size that I was aiming for. So creating that base shape of clay, it was really good for me to add that first as a reference to the entire thing. I used that base plate to add on all the little small pieces of clay that was going on at the bottom of the necklace, and also adding on the claws. And I also, before I started doing that, I just added a quick little hoop of metal wire onto the pendant on the back so that it would be easier to hang it on to a necklace later on down the line when I get a necklace. Right now I do not have a necklace because I didn't want to go unnecessarily into this town or into the city to buy pearls, and I was kind of just using tools and equipment and materials that I have laying around at home. So I'm sorry about that. You're not going to see any pearls in this video attached to this specific pendant. I don't really have any good way to do this. It's probably a much easier way to attach the loop hoop on the back, but I just shoved it in there, and then after it was baked once, I kind of readjusted it, added a ring, and then added a little bit more clay just to make it a little bit more neat on the back side, because it was kind of looking quite a little bit like a mess. But yeah. I was just rolling out little thin sausages of clay and kind of attaching them to the bottom and then folding them in on themselves. It's a little bit hard to explain, but if you look at the reference pictures, it looks like the metal, I don't know, wires that are on the bottom are folded in on themselves to make a little dent. Or it is really hard for me in this entire video to explain exactly what I'm doing because it's very weird and unusual shapes, and it's kind of hard to like describe it with words for me. But if you look at what I'm doing, then you might get the essence of the necklace design. So hopefully you'll see what I do and not listen to what I'm doing, because I have no idea how to explain this in a good way. After I added the little thin lines, I was starting to add the crab claws and just making thick sausages. I always say sausages, and it always just sounds weird coming out my mouth, but I don't have any other way to describe what I'm doing. I'm just adding those on and trying to sculpt little claws, like cutting into it and trying to make sure that the overall shape from all different angles looks like a claw and that it doesn't get too high in places or too low in others. So just working with them, and when I got the shape that I liked, I did add a flat piece on top, kind of on the middle before the fingers of the claw and the arm. I know that crabs doesn't have fingers, but in my mind that's the easiest way to kind of reference where I'm at. So yeah, just adding that flat piece of clay over it to make it more 3D and to make it pop a little bit. And then it was time for the piece to go into the oven for 30 minutes. At least that's what my clay wants. It has a personality now, I don't know. But the clay was in the oven, and then it's much easier to continue with the process with the sculpt when those parts are already finished, because then you can work on the face and the crab shell part. So once you're done with the necklace after the first time in the oven, I had it a total of 2 times. Then I was going to add a ring on the back. And just be careful with this. I was not careful at all. The clay was probably too fresh when I started, so it was a little bit hot and still mendable. So I kind of was able to rip off the entire loop out of the necklace, which is a big mistake on my part. But I just shoved the hoop back in, added a little bit of clay onto it, and once I baked it the final time, there's no issues. It's really stuck in there now. So if you have any issues, it's never too late with polymer clay to add a little bit more and to fix it. I think that there's a lot of ways that you can fix what you've done wrong, so don't worry about it too much if something out of the expected happens. So the main sculptural part of this necklace is definitely the crab shell, and I just made a thick piece, kind of laying it flat all over the main area of the necklace, and I started to attach it on the sides so that it didn't come off, because like once you add fresh polymer clay onto baked, sometimes they can have a little bit of issues sticking onto each other right away. So I was just going over it, squeezing it on, making sure that the pieces was going to stay together. And worst case in the future, if the parts come off, then they're really made for each other, so I can always just glue it back on. So I'm not too worried about the parts not sticking well. Then the face, it was a little bit bigger in my version compared to the rest of the design, because in the films the face is kind of small and not as pronounced in the necklace. But when I went smaller on the scale of the entire thing, I didn't want to lose the detail in the face, and I was struggling to make a smaller face than what I already was. Sorry about that one. But anyways, I need to stop saying anyways. That word is cursed. Okay. Anyways, haha. I'm going on and on now. But yeah. So for the face part, it's really hard for me to explain exactly what I'm doing, because I don't know, it's a face, it's complicated, but just look at human anatomy, get to know the facial structures, and figure out where does it go in, where does it go out. Add a little bit of clay for the nose and the lips, maybe the eyes, and then shove the clay in the eye sockets and the cheeks, and just try to make a little bit of a jaw and a chin, because then you just have to work and tweak with it until you get something that you're happy with, and that you're like, hey, you know what, this does look like a face, and a face that I like. My face was probably a little bit too big compared to the rest of the design, but I kind of liked it that way. I don't know, that's the way I wanted it anyways. So I hope that you guys still understand that I was, I don't know, trying to make the necklace the way that I wanted it to be, at the same time making it resemble the one from the movie. So when you're done sculpting the face and you kind of want to make the ridges on the side of the heart, I just shoved in the clay and tweaked it a little bit to make it look like my reference pictures that I was looking at. And then I was pretty much done with the necklace. It's really hard to explain exactly what I was doing all the time, but I think by just looking at what I'm doing is a little bit easier. And especially in the end when I'm painting the necklace, you can you can sort of see the different features pop out even more, and then it's a little bit easier to see what I was doing the entire time. So after everything is done with the sculpting, I just added it into the oven 30 more minutes at 110 Celsius, because that's what my clay says on the package that I should do. So if you ever wonder, just reference the package of clay that you're using. Don't take my word on it or anything. So yeah, keep that in mind. After it's done baking and it has cooled down, I just added a layer of silver and black mixed together. Just a dulled down silver that wasn't too in your face. Haha, get it, it's a face. But yeah, adding that layer and waiting until it's a little bit dry. It dries pretty quick, or at least mine did. And then I just added more black into the shadows and dark spots of the sculpt. And then I added more silver onto the highlights and like outmost tippy top points of the nose, the eyes, and the places that it's natural that the light is more present. So that's pretty much what I did with the paint job. Pretty easy. Did add a little bit of gold some places just to make it look a little bit more dingy. And that is pretty much it for the paint job. I could probably have done a sealer and just seal that paint in, but I didn't have any, and for the same reason like earlier, I don't want to go into the city unnecessarily, so I just grabbed what I had for this project, and that is pretty much it. So this is the finished project for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and that you want to have a go at it yourself. If you like content like this, make sure that you subscribe and hit the bell notification bell down below. That's everything for today, and thank you so much for watching.